A third of residents in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, are without electricity following what Ukraine's foreign minister described as a massive overnight Russian bombardment of residential areas and critical infrastructure. The foreign minister says the strikes also cut heating supplies as temperatures plunged. Kyiv Mayor confirmed that at least one person was killed and 30 others were injured, and the attacks come just hours before President Volodymyr Zelenskyy left for Florida, where he is due to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump tomorrow for peace talks. And to discuss this now a bit more further, we are now joined by international relations expert and senior research fellow for Africa-Asia Dialogues, Thembisa Fakude. He joins us now via our video link. Mr. Fakude, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Let's start off here. What do you make of this latest attack from Russia on Kyiv, particularly just as we edge closer now to 4 years of this war between these two nations?
Well, it shows that Vladimir Putin is not really keen on achieving peace in Ukraine, and it undermines the visit that Volodymyr Zelenskyy is going to be taking to Florida, to correctly put it, to visit Donald Trump. So this is President Putin digging in his heels and continuing with his bombardment. But at the same time, we need to always remember that this is not in isolation. Ukraine has also been attacking Russia, and it's likely, of course, that these plans were afoot way before the announcement that Volodymyr Zelenskyy was going to meet Donald Trump. But it doesn't look like the talks between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy are going to go smoothly.
And coming to that issue, we now know that the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, he's already on his way to the U.S. to have these peace talks. So where does this now place these peace talks, particularly at a time where, both sides have been saying they want this matter to come to an end?
Well, the talks were not necessarily going to yield any result as long as Volodymyr Zelenskyy was not part or have a seat on the table. So what is going on at the moment, these are discussions and talks between the United States and the Russians. And Volodymyr Zelenskyy, as is going to Florida, he was going to be briefed by Donald Trump on the progress of the talks. And that in itself is going to be an impediment towards this discussion, because you can't have a discussion at this advanced level without the actual involvement of President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And this is what Trump has always insisted on doing, basically insisting that the deal, whatever deal that's going to be, is going to be a deal that's going to be facilitated, or the deal between the United States and Russia, and that deal is going to be imposed on Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And we've seen over the past couple of weeks at least, Volodymyr Zelenskyy arguing, of course, that whatever discussions that has to be taking place, he has to be involved, and particularly when it comes to matters of land and some of the territories that have been occupied by Russians. Trump seemed to be under the impression that those has to go to Russia, and Volodymyr Zelenskyy and the people of Ukraine need to live with the decision.
And when it comes to this back and forth that we continue to see, we've seen U.S. President Donald Trump having meetings with the president of Russia, as well as, this peace talk as well that is expected to take place tomorrow. Where does it leave the people at the center of this, particularly those in Ukraine as well as in Russia? Because it seems as if this war is not nearing its end soon.
Well, I think you're likely, this is not going to be lasting peace, because number one is Volodymyr Zelenskyy has this deal going to be imposed to him, one. Number two is the people of Ukraine have got no choice but to accept whatever at least these three parties in the form of Volodymyr Zelenskyy, United States and Putin decide on, including those territories that have been occupied by Russia. So you are likely to have continuing problems, if not future insurgents re-emerging once again, because, again, people are not really consulted, and there's no referendum given the war and the situation currently in Ukraine. So Trump's deal is insistent on Volodymyr Zelenskyy to forsaken, forget about ever recovering the territories that were occupied by Russia, not only now but in 2014. So that's going to create a problem, and I think it's not going to be a lasting solution, because at some point you're going to have those people that are deprived of their land emerging once again and claiming and wanting to go back to their lands.
And then, Mr. Fakude, what is your expectations when you speak like this? What is your expectations of that meeting that will be taking place tomorrow between Volodymyr Zelenskyy as well as U.S. President Donald Trump?
I think it's not going to yield any result. This is a president that is Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who is forced to go to meet Donald Trump in Florida, but by the look of things, Volodymyr Zelenskyy himself does not seem to be expecting much out of that meeting, because the deal that's currently on the table does not necessarily and totally meet his expectations. So it's a fulfillment of a promise to go and see Donald Trump, of course, at the insistence of Donald Trump, because Volodymyr Zelenskyy doesn't want to be seen as the one who's stalling the talks at the moment. So he has no choice but to go to Florida, but I don't see him coming back with any form of agreement based on what Donald Trump is currently offering the Russians. You are likely to have Volodymyr Zelenskyy going to dig in his heels, insisting that he cannot give up the war and give up the lands that Russia has failed so far to win. And this is what Donald Trump is trying to do. He's trying to push Volodymyr Zelenskyy to further give up the land that the Russians have been battling to conquer over the past at least couple of years since this war started. So you're going to have a Volodymyr Zelenskyy who's going to articulate that position to Donald Trump, and I don't see him coming back to Ukraine with any form of agreement or a way forward towards sorting out this problem that we currently face.
All right, and Mr. Fakude, just before I let you go, I mean, on other matters pertaining to what's taking place on the continent, Israel recognizing Somaliland as an independent nation. What are your thoughts on that matter now that we've also seen the African Union rejecting this move?
Well, it's a joke, of course, because Somalia is not recognized by Somaliland is not recognized by anyone in the land, and what is in the world and what has happened at the moment, of course, is to further anger the Somali government, and this is likely to create further tensions in the region, something that many were hoping that at some point that's going to be sorted out. But at the same time, it kind of strengthens the position of the Somaliland. They will feel much more emboldened by this. But you're also likely to have Israel entrenching itself in the coast of the Red Sea and working now closely with Somaliland, which might just add problems to that part of the world. And Israel is in need of friends at the moment, backfoot with most countries criticizing it for its war in Gaza and its continued genocide in that part of the world. So Somaliland is a country that's in need of friends, and Israel is a country that's in need of friends. And I think it's a convenient union between the two countries. Of course, we don't think that's going to succeed or get any further recognition.
All right, Mr. Fakude, thank you so much for your time. That's Thembisa Fakude there. He is an international relations expert as well as a senior research fellow for Africa-Asia Dialogues, talking to us about two very important matters, and that's, of course, the attack on Ukraine by Russia ahead of that meeting between Volodymyr Zelenskyy as well as U.S. President Donald Trump, also there weighing in on the issue of Somalia and Somaliland.